Hey guys, it's John, your Tennessee flying farmer. You notice I'm sitting inside the 750SDXtreme. I've made a video sitting in here before, but this time is a little different. So anyway, it's time for an update. So let me just get right to it and I'll show you why this time's different. Let's see if I can get out of this thing nicely. And let's get started.
This guy's good.
Now, here's our farmer, John Homebred.
Look at that! Oh my God!
That was good.
Well, a lot of things are different actually now. Let me just turn this camera around and you guys can see. First of all, this thing is up on its feet. I'll show you more details here in a second. But as you can see, I've been doing a lot of cleaning. Guys, this is still a major work in progress, but I wanted to show you that there's a lot of cleanup going on. And I actually have, let me back up here some more. I actually have some room to work now. This is like the most room I've had to work in over a decade in this shop. So anyway, long story short, I'm trying to get some stuff going with more than just one airplane. I've got the Super Duty Extreme here, and I've got this single seat 701 that I got started on a good while back sitting there. Let's focus on this thing getting up on its feet. Okay, so basically I'm having to use a bucket or a ladder or something to get in and out of this thing now. It is, man, it's pretty tall. I love it, but it is getting some height on it for sure. It's turning into a different beast. First things you guys noticed from, I think, a previous video, the Behringer 10-inch wheels. I got 29-inch Desser tires. The main gear is temporarily on it. I've got stuff mocked up there, but it's across axles and all that kind of stuff are just temporarily mounted too, but it is on its own main feet. The big news right now is it is also on its nose wheel. That's the Behringer nose nose wheel, Behringer axle, and well, guys, this is my own custom nose fork. A lot of painstaking trouble and time and cost, because this is a billet fork. This thing was machined completely out of one single block of aluminum. No bending, nothing like that. Okay, so let's go over why I decided to make my own nose fork for this plane. Right here, I've got two factory forks. This is the one for the Zenith 701. This is the standard fork that comes with it. This is the one that comes with the 750 Super Duty. The 701 fork, I used an Aero Classic 806 tire. This is their 21-inch tire. The 701 fork will fit over the tire just ever so slightly. There's not much room on the sides, but it's not tall enough to reach down to the axle. So to make it work, you have to add axle or fork extensions. And you know, that worked great for the 701, but I really didn't want to have to do this with the bigger, bulkier gear that's on the Super Duty. And that brings us to the Super Duty fork. This is a lot thicker. Let's get it back in here side by side again so you can see. Actually, I'll put them this way. The Super Duty fork's roughly 1/2 inch thick. The 701 fork is roughly 3/8 of an inch thick where they mount to the nose strut. The Super Duty fork, they're both a flat stock that's been bent and formed around a mold. The Super Duty fork remains 1/2 inch all the way down. The 701 fork starts at 3/8 and it narrows down quite a bit before it gets to the axle. You can see here, the Super Duty fork will not fit. I mean, it's just very simple. It will not fit on this 806 21-inch Aero Classic tire. Now, that being said, the Airhawk tire does work with this fork. The same size number, the 806 Airhawk that's sent out with the kits does work with the fork, but it is very, very close, very tight fitting between the sides of the fork. And I wanted the bigger footprint anyway. I wanted this Aero Classic tire is 1.5 inches taller, and it's just a little over 1/2 inch wider when it's mounted than what the Airhawk tire is. So I wanted a little bit extra footprint, a little extra flotation, just a little better looking tire in my opinion for this setup, especially when I increased the size of the main tires to 29s. And I didn't really want to increase it, but to get where I needed to be, we had to go with the 10-inch wheels. So to go with the 10-inch wheels, the smallest, lightest tire I could find was the 29-inch Desser tire. Okay, well, let's take a look at this fork. This fork, I think it came out really, really well. I'm excited about it. Of course, you see I've engraved it. Where I've engraved it, and I've already had some concerns about the engraving being weakening it. This is my own design. This is my own custom fork. I went through and modeled this thing up, put it in the software, and took the final file to my local machine shop, and they cut this thing out of a 7075 block of aluminum. So basically what I've done is it's got the flat top. It curves down to the legs of it, but you can see it curves a little wider there at the tire, and then it actually curves back in to where it meets the axle. Does that on both sides. So the only good way I could see to get there to what I want is to just have one machined out of a solid block. And guys, I love this thing. I think it's come out really, really well. Anyway, I started with the 1/2 inch at the top. I actually carried the 1/2 inch all the way down to the X. So it's plenty strong enough there. Then it starts narrowing down a little bit down to the bottom where the axle mounts. So it does narrow down just a little, but really not much. Guys, this thing should be plenty robust for the Super Duty. I upsized it from the 701's gross weights to what the Super Duty is, and it's overkill even for that. So I'm excited. I think it's going to work really, really well. And it has the look I was going for. So anyway, the engraving, you see the HCX. The X, of course, is for my Extreme in the build. The HC is actually for Humbert Customs. Okay, so on to the next part. Basically, I have to have that much of it done so I could get the airplane mocked completely up. I had to get the front wheel mounted to the fork and the fork mounted to something there so I could get the airplane leveled up and get the final dimensions of what I need for this custom nose strut, because it's going to be different. The tire's taller, the fork is a little bit taller for a little extra clearance all the way around. I've got the stock nose strut in here at the moment with one donut, and I'm just trying to use it to mock up things that I'll need to get the final dimensions for my Shock Monster strut. It's in the works. Talked to Shock Monster yesterday, and he is supposed to call me back today with some ideas and thoughts and see if we can't get something to get this thing on its 3 feet permanently. So hopefully by the time I get this video posted and that kind of stuff, they'll be in the works and maybe even shipped, but we'll see how that goes. All right, let's move on to the next topic. So let's talk about sponsorship opportunities. Guys, you know, I've got the 750 Super Duty Extreme in the works. I'm calling this thing the Extreme. I've got the single seat 701, which is, reality is it's going to be a lot more extreme because there's going to have to be a lot of custom stuff. There's going to have to be custom gear made for it. If I do the main cabin frame and all that kind of stuff out of titanium, all of that'll be custom components I'll have to buy and fabricate and do myself, and a lot of the gear and all that kind of stuff will be. Engine mount and all that kind of stuff, everything will be totally custom, and man, it gets even more radical and a lot more extreme than what I've got so far, even with all the modifications and stuff I've got going on with the Super Duty. So I want to say thanks to my sponsors. I do have a few sponsors after flying the Super 701, getting some recognition out of that. You know who you are. There's no way I would have these projects going if it weren't for my sponsors. Anyway, I'm opening it back up to sponsorship opportunities. And what would you get as a sponsor? Well, you would get me first. I would be representing you, and I will try my best to put you in the spotlight with your sponsorship. You guys know from the 701, it hit the spotlight pretty big. I actually have a resume video from a while back, and I need to go back and update it. I need to put out a new resume. Anyway, in that resume, I talked about all the accomplishments my Super 701 has had. It's my claim to fame. It's been all over the place. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's an absolute beast and fun to fly. Even though this is my first airplane build, I've been told it is one of the most published airplanes within the last 2 years. I'm not sure how to verify this, but my Super 701 brand has definitely been published in numerous newspapers, news networks, and aviation magazines, including being one of the very first STOL airplanes on the cover of the largest worldwide aviation magazine. We even went viral when I managed to catch an excellent landing on camera in very sketchy and stormy weather conditions on my short grass runway on the farm. I've been invited to numerous STOL demonstrations, and even though this is a stock-built airplane that was never intended to be used for competition, I've proven to be competitive and one of the crowd favorites at many events and competitions alongside some of the best STOL pilots in the world. I truly enjoy engaging with the spectators during these events. I also have numerous wins at STOL, STOL Drag, STOL Cross, several other types of STOL competitions within my first couple of years as a pilot, and I feel that my aviation career is just getting started. I've already made a lot of progress with what I have to complete this, and you can see the wings and fuselage and all that stuff's already built. I'm really hoping to have an extremely good build winter in here and see if I can't get this bird in the air for you guys next year, and for me too, because you have no idea how much I want to be flying this thing. But anyway, long story short, there's still an incredible amount of stuff and expense that has to be bought for this thing to get it in the air. I've got to buy a propeller. I've got to finish out all the instrumentation. So far, the only instrument stuff I have is the Garmin screen. I don't have anything else to go with it yet. I'll be, have to get all the wiring and all the extra components to make that work. ELT, I've got all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of electronics. Of course, electronics add up big time for any of this stuff. Paint, I'm going to be dealing with some more titanium. There's one thing after another, and those expenses add up. And, well, they're going to for this one too. I want this one to be even more extreme. I want this one to stand out in the crowd and people go, oh my God, how's that thing take off so fast? And I really, really feel like it's going to be capable of doing that.
Oh, sick! Oh, jeepers!
So anyway, if you want to be a part of these two incredibly custom builds, reach out to me. We'll get something figured out. In the meantime, I'm going to get back to work. I've got a lot to do here. This plane is going to come basically all the way back down, pretty much to the ground. And my final assembly, as I go back together, I'll be putting in stuff like the bolts for the main gear. That'll all be changed. I'll be putting the pads in there and getting them all the correct size and fitting. You can see there on the axle, I've just got 2 bolts holding it together, and those aren't even the bolts that will be used in the final. I actually have titanium bolts that'll go all the way through. Those are fairly long bolts. They go through the relatively thick gear. They go through the spacer that I had custom machined. They go through the Behringer axle, and they also go through the caliper. So that's a pretty long bolt, and going from the standard bolts to titanium bolts, and they're a fair amount bigger bolt too, so I'm not a bit worried about them being strong enough. But anyway, that saves a fair amount of weight there. And you guys know I've already removed some material from the main gear, both down at the bottom where it fits up here. That's all trimmed and fit a little nicer. In a previous video, I showed where we've machined some weight off the top of that. It's a little bit too strong in my opinion, so we've essentially weakened it a little, but I think what we've really done is sort of made it to where it fits my mission and my Super Duty a little better. The front nose fork, that is lightened as well. It saved nearly a pound off of this fork just because it's machined to fit, and it does narrow down some where it reaches the axle. So anyway, once I get this thing completely torn back apart again, I will be either painting or Cerakoting or doing something to the cabin frame. I'll be getting seats and all the chromoly pieces will be taken care of. So when I go back to the final assembly and actually bolting this stuff together for good, it'll be for good. I won't be taking it back apart again. And most of it, you guys have probably seen, it's been put together and taken apart, you know, over a dozen times at this point, just test fitting, cutting, trimming, trying to make everything just smooth and rounded in the way I want it. Well, guys, anyway, I gotta get back to work. I hope you guys enjoyed this update video, and I will catch you next time. As always, thank you very much for watching. Reach out, leave comments. I appreciate the calls, the texts, everything you guys do for me. And until next time, see ya.